Hello children, this is session 3 web applications. I have already provided you session 1 network accessibility options and session 2 networking fundamentals. And if you see in the textbook, they have given 8 sessions in unit 2 web applications. So till now I have provided you session 2, and in this video I'm going to cover all the remaining sessions like session 3 to 8. Session 3 instant messaging to internet security. So I'm going to cover all these topics in this video so that we can complete unit 2 with this video. This is session 3, introduction to the instant messaging. Okay, what is instant messaging? You can see on the screen, instant messaging means it is a form of communication over the internet. That means if you communicate from one person to another person, we have different communications. Like this instant messaging is a text based communication, and we can send text based messages from sender to receiver. Like what type of features like this instant messaging giving? Like we can send different files like audio files and video files and images we can send by using instant messaging softwares. Like if you see, you know that WhatsApp, WeChat, Viber and Kik, these are different types of instant messaging softwares. By using these type of softwares, we can send text based messages and different types of files also. Now we will see some key features of an instant messaging. Now you can see on the screen some what are the features are available in these instant messaging softwares are like, first we can send text messages from one person to another person, like SMS, how you are sending through SMS, you are sending text messages. In the same way we can send text messages. Second one is we can make audio calls and video calls also, and we can send different types of documents like different types of files like documents, spreadsheets, audio files, video files also. And one more feature is we can save messages for future reference. Like by using the feature message history, we can save messages for future reference. These are some key features of an instant messaging. Now next one, types of instant messaging software. There are different two types of instant messaging softwares are there. First one is application based and second one is web based. That means here normally participants messaging to each other, sometimes we need to sign in some accounts. If you take Yahoo Messenger, so if you want to do some chatting or some communication using Yahoo Messenger, there we need Yahoo ID and password. But in the case of WhatsApp Messenger, there we need a contact number, any phone number we need. And if you take Skype, is also instant messaging software only. If you want to communicate through Skype, we need a standard name. And if you take Google Talk, we need like a Gmail ID and password. That means here different softwares and different are following different patterns. Like instant messaging accounts differ in formats, like some are asking for email ID, some is take some type of applications asking for contact numbers, some applications asking for standard names, like the different formats they are following. So based on those formats, these instant messaging softwares are divided into two types, application based and second one is web based. If you take first one is application based. Application based means it is an instant messaging software, but this application based software is we have to download it and install it in our computer or in any other device. Like for example, if you take WhatsApp we have to download it and we have to install in our device. And if you take Skype also and Yahoo Messenger, Google Talk, all these are we have to download it, these applications. So we have to go to the Play Store and we have to download it, these softwares. Whereas in web-based applications, web-based softwares. So these type of softwares, there we have to use we have to take the help from the browser. We need web browser like Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, like these web browsers we need. So through these web browsers we can access some type of web based instant messaging softwares like Yahoo Messenger for the web, MSN Web Messenger, like IMO. Like these are different types of web based instant messaging softwares are there. These are examples. And if you take application based, those are like WhatsApp, Skype, Rediffball, Windows Live Messenger, Yahoo Messenger, Google Talk. These are different types of instant messaging softwares. So this is about instant messaging. So instant messaging is a communication, the way of communication. We can send different types of data here, and instant messaging softwares are two types, web based and application based. So this is about instant messaging softwares. Now next I'm moving to the next session, chatting with a contact, Google Talk. So now you understand what is a instant messaging account and how to create an account for Google Talk. So Google Talk is an instant messaging service that provides both text and voice communication. So we can communicate through text, otherwise we can make audio calls and video calls also using this Google Talk. So as I already told you, to create an account or to access Google Talk, we need like Yahoo Messenger, how we provided Yahoo ID and password. For the Google Talk also, two types we have. So Google Talk application is available. That means this is application based as well as web based also. Means through the application also we can use Google Talk, and second way is as a web based. So I'm here, they have given how to create a Google Talk account using web based application. That means for this Google Talk you need a Gmail ID and password. That means you need to have a Gmail account, normal Gmail account. So by after login to the Gmail account, you can go to the Google Talk and you can do whatever the chatting process is there, you can do. But I'm not going to explain here how to create Gmail account, that because you people are already aware of that, how to create Gmail account. I'm not going to show you now. Just once if you have the Gmail ID, that means you can able to create Google Talk and you can able to interact using Google Talk. Next one is creating and publishing web pages. That means blog. So here, what is a blog? So blog means it is online personal diary. Anyone can use it. It is not compulsory, only technical users only can create blogs. No, not like that. So any technical and non-technical users can maintain these blogs. These all blogs are similar to an online personal diary, and it is very easy to use also. So what is the use here? Here we can convey some messages, and if you want to give some announcement, if you want to post your photographs, or if you want to post some news regarding like current affairs, if you want to post whatever you want to post, it is nothing but a personal diary, your personal diary. So we can use it as a personal diary, and here we can give post your photographs and events, announcement, everything. So we can create blog account here. So hundreds of websites are offered blog service for free. So we can create blog or your blogger with free of cost. That means we have different types of websites you can see on the screen, like wordpress.com, blogger.com, blog.com, weebly.com and blogsome.com. These are different websites that are providing blog service for free. So here by through these websites, by using these websites, we can create blog account for free. Then how to create a blog account using these websites? I have given different examples for to create a blog free websites like WordPress and blogger.com blog. Then how to create a blog account using these websites? So I'm giving here some information how to create WordPress here. Like first, using WordPress website, first you need a good internet connection you required, and you need a blog account is required to other than internet connection and browser, you need blog account also. So to create blog account, so what are the steps we should follow here? First one is open the web browser. Like web browser means like Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox or Google Chrome, any web browser, just open it, and on the address bar type this web address, like what you can see on the screen. I'm just giving one URL here, https://signup.wordpress.com. that means when you type this address in your address bar, it will give one sign up page, like sign up window you will get. There you have to provide your username, password, email address and language and blog address, like different fields you have to enter there. Like username, password, email address is normal, but blog address, so when you are giving blog address, you must provide a unique address to your WordPress blog. That means that address should not match with any other blogger names or any other website addresses. That should be a unique address to your WordPress blog. So once if you provided the unique address, after that the last step is you just click on create blog. When you click on create blog, if you entered all the fields incorrect, then you can see this window. Right now you can see on the screen your account is now active. Then how can your account be active? So once if you click on the create blog option, they will send one email. So they will send an email for activating your blog account. You just open your email and click on that link. So immediately you can see this window, your account is now active. So like this is the way how we can create a blog account using WordPress. Okay, next one is using offline blog editors. That means you know how to create a blog, then how to use offline blog editors. That means what so what is offline blog editors is, for example, if you don't have an internet connection, and you can create blogs using blog application here. Even if you don't have internet connection also, you can create blogs by using some applications here, and you can publish whenever internet connectivity is available. So what are those offline blog editors? You can see on the screen. So these are some offline blog editors like Umana and Windows Live Writer and Blog Desk. So these are different blog editors we can use, very easy to use, and we can post these application. These offline blog editor also free blog application only, and these are very easy and simple to use. Next one is online transactions. Online transactions, if you do any transaction, any type of e-commerce transaction, any electronic commerce where customers can buy or sell goods over the internet, those are online transactions. Mean the transactions over the internet are called transactions, online transactions. Like here online transactions means here you're purchasing of goods, selling of goods, and if you booking a ticket, or if you by using means here customers can pay online using credit and debit card or any internet banking. These all are coming under online transactions. So when these type of online transactions are useful, generally when a customer does not have sufficient time to visit stores, at that time these online transactions are very useful. And whenever means visiting a store is more expensive than purchasing a product online. And next one is a product or service that is not available in the local market, available online. Mean that is not available in the local market, but some products those are not available in the local market, they may available in the online also. So in these cases online transactions are very useful. These are some of the popular online transaction websites like IRCTC. IRCTC means to book on train tickets. And Flipkart, online shopping portal for buying consumer products. And eBay means it is online portal for buying and selling goods. Next, Redbus, it is online portal for booking bus tickets. Other than this, we have some other examples also there, like Amazon is also example, and eRail also example. Like different types of different websites are there. They are providing online services, banking services also. These all are coming under online transactions only. But in your textbook they have given some information like how to create Flipkart account and how to purchase goods or how to do online transaction in Flipkart by using debit or credit card. But I'm not showing you now because people are aware of that, how to purchase you goods in Amazon or Flipkart. You very much aware of that, so I'm not going to give that information. So I'm going to the next topic, internet security. So here internet security, how we have different types of security like computer security, cyber security. Like internet security, it is a branch of computer security. It is related to the internet, so we are calling it internet security, means it is related to the internet only. So internet security, generally we are getting so much of valuable information, and we are getting entertainment and so much of information we are getting, and we are using for so many things this internet. But it may leave your computer unsecured due to many online threats. So you need to ensure that your usernames and your passwords or your credit cards and whatever you are doing online banking, so they should be secure, as they are prone to be tracked and used by unauthorized users like crackers and hackers, you know that. So like some websites can also install malware on the computers without user consent, thereby leaving the computer damaged or insecure. So not even the user not even aware of the what is there in that websites also. So they mistakenly sometimes when the people like you're playing online games or you're watching some videos, so sometimes you can see sometimes some pop-ups or some notification come to your screen, and like you got bumper prize, you win 1 lakh prize here, like pop-ups will come. When you click on that pop-ups, it will track your address and it will track your IP address, and means your, so whatever you're doing, whatever the things you stored, immediately it will go to the author, means remote location. That means so total your computer system collapsed and means damaged, will get damaged. So you have to be aware of these type of viruses. You have to use antivirus programs, antivirus softwares, and don't trust like untrusted websites, and don't open the links which are not coming from the, means which are not familiar, which are not related to you. That means don't open those type of links. So like this. So what are what is the main objective of internet security is here? The main objective of internet security is to establish rules and measures to use against attacks over the internet. So that means we have to follow some rules and regulations whenever you are using you are doing online activity. You have to follow some rules, and you have to take some measures to use internet. See, online threats. The threats are vulnerabilities that uses World Wide Web to facilitate crimes are called online threats. What are online threats? Here see, these are different types of online threats: phishing, email spoofing, chat spoofing. So here phishing means it is a fraudulent attempt usually made through email to steal your personal information. Your personal information like your username, account name, and like sensitive information, account number. And actually how this type of phishing and this type of online threats happen through emails. It is mostly done by emails only. Next one is email spoofing. Here the word spoofing means it is a trick or deceiving a person, deceived. So it is a trick, means some person they play tricks to get your information, to steal your information. Like it is also done by emails only, and it is the creation of email message with a forged sender address. Like spoofing is a tool for getting your personal information, and they pose like they act like a bank, they act like a business organization, they act like a government agency. So user can easily believe them, and they can easily provide the information to them. So they can get your information and they will hack everything, whatever the information, they steal everything from your device. Next, chat spoofing also, it is done by showing fake identity on the internet. So they might think that this is you, but actually he or she may be someone else by taking your identity. So these type of spoofings or phishings can take place where there is a lack of security. So that's why we have to take some measures, and we have to take some precautions while you're doing online activities. So these are some precautions, best practices for security over internet. So through this we can reduce the risk by using these best practices, like using strong passwords for your accounts, like your bank accounts or your Gmail accounts or your email accounts, and backup your data whenever possible. So you just keep a backup for your data. And next one is use encryption software. So like to protect your data from unauthorized users, if encryption software is not available within the operating system, we can use a third party software also. So sometimes it is available within the operating systems. So when it is available, we can download it and we can use it, some other software also. Next one is keep username and password private. So you should not share your passwords and usernames with others. You have to keep it safe. So never save your username or password on computers. You should not do in your devices like computers, so that are used in shared environments, such as mostly in internet caves, internet browsing centers. You should not save your passwords or your usernames on the computers. If your personal computer, then it is okay, but don't save your passwords that are used in internet caves. Next one is registering with websites. So whenever you are registered with a website, whenever you are registering with some new websites, you just read the privacy statements, policy statements. Generally you all are having the habit of you're just accepting without reading agreement policies. Just you go through the policies, then only you have to click on the accept. Do not share personal information. Sometimes some type of websites, they will ask for your personal information to fill the forms and all the fields like gender, email address, school, like this. But be cautious when filling out such type of forms. Sometimes they will ask for your personal information, personal account information also. Next, secure transactions. So if you are using online shopping or transactions, so websites even store your credit card or online banking personal information when you are using for online transactions. So this information can be tracked and used by unauthorized users, often known as hackers, and they can misuse your information. So again and again, just ensure that website is legitimate and that is a trusted website or not. Ensure that, and then only just use it for online transactions. Use antivirus and anti-spyware softwares. Sometimes computers prone to attacks from software known as malware that could harm your computer. So malware track browsing behavior or transmit personal data from your computer. So whatever you saved in your disk, whatever you saved in your memory, malware will transmit all the data to the remote location. So better you just have to use antivirus softwares in your computer to protect your computer from all these type of viruses. And do not immediately respond to mails from unknown users. So it may be fake mail trying to gather personal information, so don't respond immediately. You just take time and observe from where you got the mail. And sometimes you may get that is SBI Bank of India, it will show like that only name, but it is not the trusted one. So you just don't provide your personal information immediately. Install firewalls. Firewalls could be a software or hardware, can assist in keeping a computer and network secure. So firewalls can analyze the network traffic and determine if the traffic should be allowed or not. So we can fix the what type of some websites only we can give the permission, we can set the traffic here. So some types of trusted websites only we can allow. So in most cases operating systems like Windows, Linux and so some type of these type of operating system, they are having inbuilt like firewall softwares as a part of operating system, so that they can keep the computer secure. So these are the some best practices for security over internet. So we have completed unit 2 web application. We have covered each and every topic. So before watching this video, just read the textbook once and go through this video. You can understand better. You can understand easily.